WWE Money in the Bank 2022 is tomorrow on a Saturday this year. What's going on, guys? Happy Friday afternoon. We're coming at you live just a couple of hours before SmackDown goes live on Fox. So we're going to have to predict today's Money in the Bank or tomorrow's Money in the Bank pay-per-view without knowing one of the participants in the men's ladder match, as that final participant will be named tonight on SmackDown. Could be something obvious like Kevin Owens, could be a swerve like John Cena, or even Roman Reigns, or even Brock Lesnar, but I doubt it. But we're going to determine that final one tonight. But we're going to have to try to predict this pay-per-view later on without that knowledge. So SmackDown will be coming up in a bit, and we'll have a pretty good idea after the show of how the card is exactly going to be finalized for tomorrow, because I wouldn't even rule out them adding an extra match for fun. There's only 6 matches that I have currently advertised or written down for this event as of right now. So tonight on SmackDown, they might want to throw another Gunther and Ricochet match at us or some shit like that just to fill some time on the card. We'll see if they wind up doing that. But the 6 matches that are currently advertised, we are going to predict those. But we're not just going to do that. We're going to talk about some wrestling news as well, because it should take me about 5.5 seconds to roll through the Money in the Bank predictions. But we've got some other news we can discuss as well, including the announcement yesterday by Logan Paul that he has signed a multi-year deal with WWE and will likely be wrestling at SummerSlam, probably against The Miz, as they have already planted those seeds on Monday Night Raw, where The Miz kind of claimed they're still on the same page and they're bros again. We know that's not going to last. And the angle that they set up at WrestleMania with The Miz attacking Logan Paul basically told you that these two guys are going to be facing at SummerSlam, only this time Logan Paul is going to be working with an actual WWE contract. So that's interesting. Also, a really interesting story published by Sports Illustrated about The Rock and finding out that he has 5 new half-siblings. Kind of a crazy story. Rocky Johnson, of course, led a wild life, and The Rock has been open about some of his personal issues with his father before his death and some of the things that he had to learn, know, and grow up with. And Rocky was a busy man in Canada, and he was married before he was married to The Rock's mother. Also, he had some relationships on the side, and Rock has come to discover that he's got 5 new siblings, and this whole thing was spearheaded by Lisa Purvis, who is actually producing a documentary on how all of these siblings found each other through the use of DNA and things like that. So they have now all come together and they've all met each other. They know each other, and it should be a really interesting documentary when that comes out. So we'll discuss a little bit of that as well. Jeff Hardy is set to be arraigned on Tuesday, July 5th, for his DUI. So we will discuss that. Also, talk a little bit about the latest on Sasha Banks. No real news to report on that, but it is kind of an interesting situation because it's a type of release that we don't really see a lot of. There have been numerous reports and some confirmations from everybody outside of WWE themselves making a statement that Sasha Banks has been released. So now the belief is that maybe they're trying to smooth things over and have her back. We'll talk about that in a bit. Also, Io Shirai, if she does not sign her new WWE deal and extension, she will be a free agent as of next month. So let's keep our fingers crossed that she's out the door. And we'll talk a little bit about this past week's, for last week's Forbidden Door, the pay-per-view buy rate, a little bit of blood and guts on Dynamite, and, maybe some other news and notes regarding AEW. And then after that, we will get into the Money in the Bank predictions, which, like I said, consists of 6 matches, only 2 of which matter. Everything else feels like they could be Raw or SmackDown matches. The 2 women's title matches, are you kidding me? Fucking cares. And the Usos and the Street Profits are wrestling for the 9,000th time. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's time for Montez Ford to send Daryl Dawkins through that barbershop window with the shape and the ridiculous momentum that he seems to be having right now. And then, of course, the women's and men's match Money in the Bank ladder matches. We'll discuss not only the winners there, but if it's possible, we could see yet another one-night cash-in. They tend to do it a lot with the women. I think they've done it all the time. Somebody clued me in on the stream the other night that all of the women's Money in the Bank briefcases have been basically cashed in one way or the other within the first 24 hours. And I guess that's true because I know Carmella won the first 2. She cashed in pretty quick. Alexa, I think, did the same thing. And then Asuka, of course, was given the belt when Becky got pregnant. So with the 2 women's matches that we see currently on the card, Bianca, Carmella, Ronda, and Natty, both of those are going to be squashes. It feels like there could be an opportunity here for yet another one-night cash-in on the women's side. But I'm kind of hoping not. I'm kind of hoping we hang on to the briefcases for a little while to make TV more fun, because TV needs to be fun. Not that the women's or men's briefcases can save Raw or SmackDown, but I think if you have a couple of briefcases floating around these shows as wild cards, can at least make you give a little bit of a fuck, about in terms of what they're doing. So yeah, that's what's on tap for today's episode. We'll be doing this pretty quick because, like I said, SmackDown is coming on soon, and then I got to head to work, but I will be off tomorrow to enjoy Money in the Bank. Unfortunately, I will not be making the trip to Vegas. I'll be right here, and tomorrow will be the last episode. We're going to be up here after Money in the Bank to do a full show review on this. And that'll be my last episode for a while, because then I leave on Tuesday to go to Hawaii, and I'm going to be working Sunday night. Monday night is July 4th. I know Raw is going to be airing, and I think Logan Paul is even set for Monday Night Raw as well, but I don't foresee anything too crazy happening on that show. People are 4th of July in it. There are barbecues being had. There are beach days going on. There's family shit. There's traveling. There's vacations. And I'm hopping on a plane early in the morning on Tuesday, so I really don't think I'm going to be up here on Monday to discuss Raw. Unless CM Punk defects and shows up on Raw with his AEW title, then maybe we'll come up and do a stream. But likely tomorrow's going to be it for about 10 days here on the channel. So I'm sorry for the absence. But anyway, let me cruise over here to the chat, say hi to you guys. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind, and please subscribe. Weird time to be up here Friday afternoon. Most people are getting off work or just getting home or getting ready for SmackDown or doing some pre-weekend stuff. So I have no idea what kind of audience we're going to have. But those of you who are here, thank you for being here. Sam, Austin, Rarely Even, Hassan, Mab, Michael Kumo, Angie Law, David Brown. Look at them, 3 monkey wrenches all in a row. Good to see all you guys. Deshaun is here as well. So is Zane G, Ben, Martin, Chaz, Maddie, Emilios, Lambo, Rarely Even is here, Logan, Quentin, JL, Skull Vikings, Low Justin, Trey Williams, Victor Cologne, Tails Master, Ian Dunn, all y'all. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Happy weekend and happy Money in the Bank 2022 weekend. Hopefully tomorrow will be a good show. We give WWE a lot of shit, I know on this channel, but one thing that they do tend to do well is come through on pay-per-views that feel a little bit underwhelming. They did the same thing at Hell in a Cell. I don't think any of us gave too much of a fuck about that show other than the Cody injury and the attention surrounding that. Other than that, it was a pay-per-view that felt like a chore that we had to watch. But by the end of it, I was like, that was a damn good show and a match that I was honored to witness live. So knowing WWE's track record with this type of stuff, I think despite the fact that the card is kind of lackluster, there's no Roman Reigns on this show, there's no Brock, there's no John Cena, at least as of right now. They also moved it out of Allegiant Stadium into the MGM Grand, a much smaller arena, and it feels like WWE's like, fuck it, this is good, this is good enough. This is all we need to give them. Money in the Bank winners is, that's what the pay-per-view can be centered around, because that's what it's named after. So it is appropriate, I suppose, but makes me wonder why they even bothered putting Money in the Bank in Allegiant Stadium to begin with. I was there last year for SummerSlam. Not even SummerSlam had that place half full, so I don't know why they were thinking they were going to do any sort of better business for Money in the Bank, but I like smaller arenas anyway, so I think it'll wind up looking pretty good for tomorrow. But before we get into Money in the Bank, let's talk some news. Let's talk Logan Paul. Logan Paul has officially signed a deal with WWE. Meltzer has said that this is a multi-year and multi-match deal, so he'll be wrestling for several years, probably just on several big events and appearing on Raws and stuff like that. Now, he doesn't seem shy about appearing on Raws and TVs and stuff, so I don't think Logan Paul is going to be the type of celebrity-turned-wrestler type of guy to work a really crazy limited schedule. I think he might even be there as much, if not more, than Bad Bunny. That could be a match for the future, Logan Paul and Bad Bunny, or maybe at least put them on opposite sides. But in terms of him coming in, and how often he's going to work, I'm actually fine with it. I was in San Diego the night after for Raw. I believe Raw might actually be here again on Monday, actually, because they were here after SummerSlam, which was in Vegas. Would make sense that they're going to be here on Monday. Yeah, shit. Raw, I think, is here in San Diego on Monday. I'm pretty sure. And Logan Paul was on the Raw after SummerSlam last year in San Diego as well. I attended that show. He did some shit with The Miz and Morrison or whatever. So looks like he'll be back scheduled for this Monday's Raw, which makes sense. But I think that he'll be on TV regularly enough, at least when he's working with somebody leading into a match. So between now and SummerSlam, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Logan Paul every fucking week. And then after that, he'll come back maybe to work a Survivor Series Rumble. Guarantee he's going to be in the Rumble. Guarantee you Logan Paul will be in the Royal Rumble. They definitely want him in the Royal Rumble. Imagine if that fucker wins it. But yesterday, Logan Paul made the announcement, posted a picture on social media, Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff of him signing his WWE deal and doing the photo op with Stephanie and Triple H. Good to see the Triple H finger point is back. And as somebody who's an old man, as somebody who has zero interest in whatever the fuck it is that Logan Paul is even famous for, because I don't know. All I know is he's an idiot. So none of that appeals to a fan like me. But when you look at somebody who he's working with, like The Miz, he's the new generation of The Miz. You know, there was no, YouTube and streaming shows and dumb shit you could do all the time. When Miz was coming up, he was more of a reality TV guy. The real world stuff where he's super over the top. That was basically that era's version of Logan Paul. So Logan Paul coming in, making some waves much the same way The Miz did, showing an interest in wrestling, really playing the part well, has outside, even more so than The Miz, outside mainstream recognition. People know who he is. He's super fucking famous because of whatever, the YouTube show or whatever it is. Young audience knows who he is. They recognize him, probably have strong opinions of him one way or the other, if they love him or hate him. Bottom line is people know who he is, and signing Logan Paul was not surprising. We all knew we would see Logan Paul again. The way he came out at WrestleMania, the way he looked in that amazing gear he had made. He was wrestling well, looked like he trained, took it seriously, throwing three amigos in the ring and shit on Rey Mysterio, shimmying on the top rope and frog splashing. The dude can sports entertain his ass off. I'm the first one to admit it. So signing Logan Paul is the most WWE thing you can do. This is exactly what they do. They love this type of shit. They love this mainstream rub. They can't get enough of it. They like to take it and rub it all over themselves, if you know what I mean. So him signing a deal, I'm actually cool with it, despite me having, really no investment or connection with him as a person or a character. I'm looking at it from a company standpoint, and anytime a celebrity like like Logan Paul, like Lawrence Taylor, like Stephen Amell, give me some other examples of celebrities who have gotten in the ring and have done really well. Bad Bunny is another one. Whenever I see somebody doing something like that, as long as they're good, I don't really give a shit. If they're good and they're going to bring in eyeballs, WWE knows that Logan Paul can get some serious heat. When he did those three amigos on Rey at WrestleMania, the fucking building just collectively was like, oh, you motherfucker. I mean, this guy knows heat. Like I said, I was in San Diego for Raw last year after SummerSlam, and it was just the loudest boos you could possibly imagine. Now, based on his performance, I think WWE, and I think it was Meltzer that reported that this deal is going to include some sort of a babyface run for him, which we could be getting right now going into this match with The Miz. But he's such an easily dislikable guy. He seems like a natural heel. He seems like a natural douchebag, an easy person to boo, an easy person to hate. But at the same time, when he has a match like he had at WrestleMania, even the most jaded fans can be like, I can kind of appreciate that. So we'll see if he can actually get over as a babyface. I think he is better as a heel, though, because we've seen how much heat he can draw from the fans when he is one. So we'll see what goes on with Logan and WWE and Miz. But I would assume Logan Paul's going to be on Raw on Monday. Miz is going to think they're all buddy-buddy again. Logan's going to put the kibosh on that. Surprisingly, I got no issue with that. We look like the stream briefly just froze here. I look to be back. All right, we're good. I think we're good. Sorry about that little brief interruption there. I think we're good, though. All right. Let's move on to our next story. The Rock, I guess, has recently found out, or I guess he's known. I wouldn't say he's found out, or this is shocking, because he did know that his father had fathered some children, but all 5 of Rocky Johnson's children have now been introduced to each other and located all across Canada, and they've used DNA to help locate each other. There's going to be a documentary coming out chronicling this whole experience, and like I said, there was one specific sibling named Lisa Purvis who is the one who's going to be producing the documentary. And it was originally supposed to be a documentary on children being abandoned by their parents for whatever reason. And then somebody had suggested that they do the piece on her own life, which they wound up doing. And the article on Sports Illustrated goes on to kind of tell the story of each one of the siblings, how they were conceived, how their mother knew Rocky, when they met, what city they were born in, that type of stuff, and what age they are now. And many of them had very, very sad stories to tell when it came to Rocky Johnson, in terms of him basically just ignoring them. You know, making a couple of phone calls, promising he'll come see him, promising he'll have a relationship with him, but really chose the nomadic life of the road over, you know, his duties and responsibilities as a father. And I think a lot of this stuff was already known. The Rock has been pretty open about this in interviews in the past about some of the issues that he took with his dad and making peace with that at the end and whatnot. But it's got to be a very weird situation to have 5 half-siblings out there that you know exist, but you never really see, don't have much contact with. Lisa, too, went on record as saying that she believes The Rock owes them nothing. She has no ill feelings towards The Rock whatsoever, despite not hearing a response from his team when she reached out. I think they actually wanted to maybe interview The Rock for this or bring him in as a part of this project, and he did not respond. So I don't know if that's just The Rock wanting to just have his own relationship with these people. It's got to be very awkward for The Rock since he is a fucking billionaire, and you have to wonder if any of these, these siblings are going to think that he's owed something to them or whatever. And it's nice to hear at least that Lisa does not believe he does at all. But it's a weird situation, and got to feel just awkward for everybody involved there, especially the kids that were left behind, especially the kids that were abandoned or did not have a relationship with their father, and the struggles they went through, you know, and how hard that was for them maybe as kids. And, you know, I know at least one of the siblings had some drug issues, spent some time in jail, things like that. So, and they're all in their 50s, close to 60s now. I think just about all of them are in their 50s, and pretty crazy. So if you want to read that story, head over to Sports Illustrated, and you can read the whole article there detailing this whole crazy situation. And wow, nuts. So I guess that's something that's probably been in the works for a while, and The Rock has been aware of it. It's not like he was blindsided by any of this stuff, but, you know, still it's got to be crazy knowing that you got 5 siblings that you have no relationship with. And I'm sure that's a pretty relatively common thing around the world, but man, that was a crazy story to read. I read the entire article. It was nuts. So anywho, we'll keep our eye on that documentary when it's set for release. I don't think the article had any release date on that. Also, a news update on Jeff Hardy. Of course, Jeff Hardy was pulled over and arrested last month in Florida, the same county that Tammy Sitch wound up killing that poor guy in that auto accident. And Jeff was intoxicated, swerving all over the road, was arrested and charged with a DUI, and he is now set for an arraignment on Tuesday, July 5th, and he apparently is going to plead not guilty, which I'm no lawyer or litigator. I'm sure Jeff is represented. Jeff has money. He wouldn't be stupid enough to go in there by himself, so I'm sure he has a lawyer telling him what his best options are, how he should handle this. Pleading not guilty, however, is pretty crazy to me because the whole goddamn thing is on camera and he's fucking guilty as shit. So he's drunk as hell. He blew 3.5 times over the legal limit. Why would you plead not guilty? Doesn't pleading not guilty mean that you want to challenge this? You actually want to get on the stand? You want a jury to see these, the video, the dash cam of you not knowing what the hell's going on and you swerving all over the road and reading the blood alcohol limit? I don't even know how you plead not guilty in that. I would assume he would just do a plea to try to get some sort of probation or something like that. But he might be pleading not guilty because the most serious charge of this is the fact that it is his 3rd DUI in 10 years, which is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. So if he pleads guilty, he's, I guess, essentially, admitting guilt to that, allowing the judge, his sentencing to rest in the judge's hands, and he could say, you're getting 5 years. So maybe that's why he has to plead not guilty. I don't know. He did report to rehab on June 21st, so he has been there. But this is a little bit scary for Jeff Hardy, as he has had several of these, based on how many times Sunny has avoided serious jail time for all of her shit. I feel like Jeff might be able to get out of this, but, and avoid actually spending time behind bars, and, of course, just do probation, community service, and drug treatment programs and all that. Likely that will be the result here for Jeff, but, if you really want to scare him straight, man, throw him in jail for a year. If it's up to 5 years, give him a year and let him get out in 7 months with good behavior, and that might straighten his ass out. A few months in the clink, I don't know, but best of luck to Jeff Hardy. It's a shame that he even has to go through this. He shouldn't even be in that courtroom on Tuesday. This is all his own doing, and very, very little sympathy for him. Don't even know really what I want in that situation. It's just an arraignment. We still have to go way further than this, and this could drag out another year before he's even held accountable for this. But, if he still has to answer for these charges down the road, maybe that's the intent here, is to get a continuance on the case once he's arraigned, and by the time it comes up for trial, he's already completed rehab, he's back to work on TV, and they can use all of this as, hopefully a reason to keep him out of jail. I don't know. But he'll be in the courtroom on Tuesday to begin the process of dealing with this fucking mess that he created for himself. Luigi Durag Gaming, appreciate that $2. Yes, Jeff is more likable than Sonny, but that doesn't mean that he should be held to different standards than her. If he commits a crime, he should pay the same punishment, whether you're likable or not. So I agree with you that we want, I think, best for Jeff. Most of us all deep down want the best for him, where with Sonny, we've given up on her. We don't really care what happens to her one way or the other. I have no interest, desire at all to see her get better. I want her to get better, obviously, to, spare more lives on the road, but she's such a lost cause at this point, giving up care and hope at all, where Jeff, he's been more in the public eye. He's been on TV. Sonny hasn't been really visible on TV in over 20 years, where Jeff has been, a pretty big fixture in wrestling in one company somewhere for the last 25 years himself. So he's just overall a more likable figure, and I think that's why it makes it harder and so frustrating when it's somebody like him that does stuff like this, because we want to like Jeff, but he makes it hard, doesn't he? Yeah, Skull Vikings, Io going back to Japan will be awesome if she does. I hope she's out of WWE. She's married to Evil, right? So I think if she was going to stick around and re-sign, she would have done that already. And we're going to talk about Io Shirai in 1 second. But first, the latest on Sasha Banks. And the latest on Sasha Banks is that there is no latest. Now, a few days ago, maybe over a week now, it was Raj Giri who reported that Sasha Banks was released on June 10th. He was told this news by a direct source in WWE who is in the company, works there, and has been used as a credible source in the past, since WWE has not come out and confirmed any of this news. Raj has gotten all sorts of heat because deals with Sasha Banks, and there's a couple of figures out there. Help me out. It's Sasha, it's Alexa. Who else has got like crazy stan armies to where they're just unstable, and anything even remotely negative about these people that for some reason they are obsessed with will unleash the rage of these people, and just simply reporting something that he heard has gotten him all sorts of hate, and it sparked all of this like crazy Sasha Banks debate about what's going on, and WWE not coming out and announcing her release, because whenever somebody is released, WWE always puts out some sort of a statement on it. So-and-so has been released. We wish them well in their future endeavors. The only time they've done one a little weird was with Moxley, when they announced before his contract was up that he was going to not re-sign with them. And, it wasn't a release situation, but that's the only one off the top of my head in recent memory that I can think of, a release or firing that was just done a little bit ass backwards. And now with Sasha Banks reporting the reports of her being released back on June 10th, but WWE not making the official announcement on their website, social media, or wherever, is starting to spark the rumors on the streets that WWE is hoping to smooth things over with her, because if she has been released, that means she is going to have the 90 days. So it's not going to be anytime soon we can see Sasha Banks in AEW. So maybe WWE is hoping during that time they are able to smooth things over with her and bring her back. But without even being in this situation and without having any direct knowledge of it, I think that I don't know how they think they're going to smooth it over, She's had problems with them before. She's in a position of, with the size of her character where she doesn't have to put up with creative bullshit. And it's sad that it's gotten to this point, but WWE, they are so wasteful with their time, with their creativity, with the, with the time that they spend on their stars, having them out there on TV doing, ridiculous, meaningless shit. And I like it when somebody in a position of power is able to kind of balk at that and say, no, this is stupid. I'm not doing this or whatever. So I don't know how, especially now with things even getting crazier with Vince McMahon and his sexual bullshit scandal that he's got going on, and all of the 9 or 10 independent investigations currently going on internally in WWE, and all the uncertainty and turmoil there. It's not a place that I would be really wanting to get back to, but Sasha Banks is a big star. Sasha Banks is somebody that I think can cross over and do other things. She can be a major star. I think she's the biggest and one of the most, appealing looking women's stars in WWE. And when you look at it like that, Sasha Banks probably has these same aspirations for herself, just like Cody does. And one thing you do have to at least consider when it comes to Sasha Banks is that if Sasha Banks wants to be a star, if she wants to cross over and do other things, if she wants to have as much exposure as possible and still remain wrestling full-time or semi-full-time, WWE is the place for her. She was born and bred there. She is a homegrown talent all the way back from those NXT days. She has grown and evolved so much as a performer. She's really good in the ring. She's good on the mic. She's got a great look, and she's got a great fan following. And she's already done a few things in movies and TV, correct? And if she wants to do more, then WWE is the place for her. WWE is going to get her the most exposure. However, if she's just soured and fed up with just the creative WWE machine, how bad everything sucks, she still wants to wrestle, she just can't take it there anymore, then, you look at AEW as a really good option, because she can come in there, and maybe even bump Britt Baker off her spot, and Sasha can go over to AEW and become fucking Charlotte over there if she wants. But it depends on what her aspirations are. It depends on what her desires are. Forget what we want. Doesn't matter. Everybody and their mother's got some opinion on this, what Sasha should do and what she shouldn't do. She can do what she wants. Here's two options. She's either coming back to WWE or she's not. I don't really have a dog in this fucking fight, man. If I'm Sasha Banks, I ain't going anywhere near WWE. I am fleeing from them like a burning building. But if you're Sasha Banks, you got to think a little more deeply than that. You can't think like a fucking fan. You can't think about somebody like us or anybody else that has some stupid aggressive opinion about what they think Sasha Banks should do with her own life. Let her do what she wants with her life. Let her do what she thinks is best for her. You don't have a fucking say. And being so opinionated about what she should do, what the right thing for her to do is, and the wrong thing for her to do is, I think that's fucked up for people to make that type of assumption on somebody else's life. She'd be stupid if she went back to WWE. She would. She'd be stupid for taking $3 million a year. I'd take that. They can do whatever the fuck they want to me on TV if you pay me that kind of money. So I don't think that people who will never be anywhere in the same universe of the level of a star that these people are should speak so aggressively and arrogantly and firmly on what they believe she should do. I think that's a little bit gross. I don't care what she does. I like Sasha Banks. She seems like not a stupid person. She seems to be somebody who stands up for what she believes and what she wants. So I have to trust Sasha to do the right thing for herself. And if she feels like one company is the better place for her, you don't really have a say. Remember how fucking pissed everybody got about Cody? There's probably people still pissed, people involved in the tribal idiot war. But remember when Cody, it was announced that he was leaving AEW and going to WWE? Why would he do that? Why would he leave AEW to go to the place where he smashed Triple H's throne? How fucking stupid is he? He's going to get chewed up by the WWE machine and spit out. He's going to be chasing the 24/7 title. One of the very first things we all read smeared across social media. He's going to be challenging for the 24/7 title. It's the dumbest mistake of his life. I've lost all respect for Cody Rhodes. He turned his back on the AEW audience. He's sold out to WWE. He's going to be sorry when he gets there and he sees what a mess it is. y'all were wrong. Everybody who said that were dead goddamn wrong. He came, hell, even I was a little bit skeptical. I'm like, okay, I support Cody. This is going to be really interesting to watch, but even I was pretty shocked that he did it. But I certainly didn't come out and say that he's making the wrong decision, because I'm not an arrogant piece of shit like some people are that do that to him. And what happened? It was turned out, in hindsight now, to be the best decision the dude ever made. He came in like a megastar in an instant, in 45 seconds in WWE. He makes his entrance and makes his entrance halfway down the aisle and gets his pyro, and he is already more exposed than he ever was in his 2.5 years in AEW. I mean, it was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I thought that Cody would be a guy who would be better off in AEW. But now that you see it, now that you see what WWE's intent is, now that you see what Cody's desires and aspirations are, and you see how WWE is going to be utilizing him and pushing him, that was the smartest fucking decision that man has ever made. But just a few months ago, many were thinking it was the worst decision he ever made. So you can use Cody as an example as to why you shouldn't be so damn sure of yourself sometimes. Let Sasha Banks do what she's going to do. You don't have a say. It doesn't fucking matter. She's coming back to WWE or she's going to AEW. Either way, we are going to see Sasha Banks in some capacity at some point. We just got to wait a little while. It's probably going to be 3 months, the end of the summer, mid-fall. Maybe even she holds us, keeps us waiting until the beginning of the year, and she either turns back up in the Royal Rumble or she turns back up at Revolution in AEW or on a random Dynamite or something like that. I don't know. I like Sasha Banks. And I don't even have any, I guess, real side in if there's an issue between her and WWE right now. I don't blame either one of them. You've seen a lot of people also, Sasha Banks is unprofessional, and then on the other side of that, it's WWE treats her like shit. I could not believe somebody said this. Somebody said that WWE is giving Sasha Banks, I want you to pause and listen to this. I'm about to say these words. They're giving Sasha Banks the Chris Benoit treatment. No. They are not giving her the Chris Benoit treatment. Let's not be stupid. Did they yank her out of the intro? Sure. They're probably pissed. I'd yank you out of my intro too if you walked out on my TV show before a match that you were advertised to compete in. You'd be out of all the intros. So not only do I not blame Sasha Banks for walking out on those creatively inept idiots in WWE and say, fuck you, you guys are stupid, peace. I also, on the other side of that coin, don't blame WWE for being a little bit pissed about that. I get it. In their minds, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They don't see how bad they suck. We all do. They don't know it. They're completely not self-aware at all of how horrible they fucking suck. But we are. So in their minds, they've done nothing wrong. They were treated unfairly. Sasha Banks was unprofessional when really they just fucking sucked, and talent is starting to get fed up with them. So I don't blame either side here. Don't blame Sasha for walking out. Don't blame WWE for temporarily erasing her until they figure this shit out. It's not a big deal either way. Nobody should be mad about this. It's fine. Let Sasha do what she's going to do. At least it's exciting because now we don't know where she's going to go, where she's going to turn up. We don't even know if she's 100% released or not. I tend to believe Raj. He's a pretty credible source. The source he used has been a credible source in the past. No reason to think that anybody would be deliberately lying here for no fucking reason at all. So I'll take this at face value. And even Raj himself had said, if this turns out to be false, then I just won't use this source anymore. Not a big deal. I don't know why people are jumping off of buildings over this. Just wait and see how it plays out. Nobody has to be right. Nobody has to have the right take. Nobody has to be the first to report it. Doesn't matter. We will find out sooner or later where Sasha Banks goes. I don't understand why sleep is being lost over this at all. So there's my opinions on Sasha Banks. Speaking of comings and goings, Io Shirai, apparently, if she does not sign her new WWE deal, she will be a free agent next month and free to go wherever the hell she wants, which could be back home. Do believe she is married to Evil. And if she goes back to Japan and wrestles over there, we could see some AEW crossover there in the future as well. But Io Shirai is somebody that should leave. She absolutely should. I cannot believe how much time she has spent in NXT. She should have been there for breakfast, and then by lunch, she should have been on the main roster. She's that good. And she spent, 4 years, something like that, in NXT. Couple of quick little stints or maybe appearances on the main roster here or there. but for the most part, she's been primarily NXT. She's been fantastic. She's been every bit as good, if not more exciting in the ring than Asuka. There's no reason why she shouldn't have been brought up permanently on the main roster already. Horny, splashy paint. NXT is a completely different animal than it was when Io was on top in black and gold. And if I'm Io Shirai, I'm bouncing. I think that she will. I think if she was going to sign a new deal by now, she already would have. She's known for a long time when her deal was up. She's had months and months and months to think about this. I think if she was going to resign with them, she might have thought 6 months ago, hey, my contract's coming up. I need to decide what I'm going to do. It's weird just to wait all the way to the last minute when you have so much time to really think about it. So I think that likely this implies that she's gone. We could be wrong. She could resign. They could entice her with a new deal, a lot of money, and promise her a push on the main roster. If that happens, I think she'll resign. But if they just want to resign her for the same money and keep her doing what she's doing now, I would bounce out of there. But even if they did offer her a main roster spot, I mean, look at Shotzi. Look at Tommaso Ciampa. Are they doing anything at all of substance on the main roster? No. And I think Io Shirai would kind of be the same way. She could really bring a lot to that much needed women's division, like a talent like her. I don't know why they're not bringing her to the main roster already, but feels like they would have done that by now. The women's roster needs some help. She would bring some much-needed help, but I think at the end of the day, we're going to see Io Shirai leave WWE, and I'm happy about that, and I wish her the absolute best. Because unlike Kairi Sane, who kind of left, I guess, like maybe in the middle of her deal or while she was still under contract, WWE didn't let her do anything else. She just had to sit there. She might still be under contract for all I know. I'm not even sure. But at least with Io Shirai, if she doesn't sign next month, she can just be free. And I love that for people. Let me see. What's next on our agenda? Let's talk Forbidden Door. AEW Forbidden Door this past Sunday did 127,000 pay-per-view buys. That is what they were hoping for. I think Tony Khan for this was kind of hoping for 100K. He got that. And like I said, the pay-per-view was a huge home run last weekend, even with the injuries depleting the card, even with the working arrangement with New Japan that a good portion of the casual audience doesn't recognize a lot of these names. And that was been a big topic of conversation, which I laughed about on social media. I'm like, holy crap, have times changed? Because back in the day, you used to brag about how much you knew. You know, back in the day, it was how many different wrestlers you knew in different promotions that would make you a smart fan. Now, fans who are on the other side of the AEW war, who the anti-AEW bad faith, just jerk-off accounts, there's a lot of those. Now, it's like they actually brag about not knowing who somebody is, basically essentially saying, I don't know who that guy is because he's not in WWE with a complete name, gimmick, and image change. And that's how I know them. I only know WWE, and to me, I find that as a quality in a wrestling fan. You know, imagine being a music fan and only listening to Nickelback. Who the fuck does that? And bragging that you only listen to Nickelback because they sold more albums than anybody else or something, or in modern times anyway. And that's who you listen to because that's the best because they top the charts or whatever. I know Nickelback doesn't top the charts now, but there was a time when they did. And I find that ludicrous. I find that so fucking funny that's where this has devolved because wrestling fans haven't evolved. They've devolved. And that's what this has devolved into is now wrestling fans will brag about not understanding anything outside of the WWE umbrella. Huh? It's not something we used to brag about, but now that is a badge of honor for half of fucking Twitter. Idiots. My God. Anyway, I think that's a pretty solid pay-per-view buy rate for Forbidden Door, considering they were only hoping for 100K. They got that, and it was a damn good show. Also, Blood and Guts this past Wednesday that we were watching together did draw over 1 million rating in the ratings. That is up from the week before and up from the week before that. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Fans jizzed on themselves because they were in the 700K range, and I said right here on this podcast, I said, okay, like as wrestling fans always prove to me is that they have no attention span. They believe the last thing that ever happens is the last thing that's ever going to happen in wrestling. That's why they got so mad every time John Cena or Charlotte won a title, because they thought they were going to die with those two as champion. When I'm like, no, there's a show tomorrow. Just chill. They might lose the belt. So same thing with AEW. They get like a 700 and whatever. They're going down. They're declining. They're going to be out of business in 2 months or whatever. And they get so excited. And I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen? I mean, I don't understand how wrestling fans are going to be excited about a disappointing rating. That's weird to me. But even if you are one of those weird fuckers that does that, what's going to happen in next week when the rating goes right back to where it was? I mean, if anything, AEW has been incredibly stable with their ratings. I've always said they're somewhere between 1.1 and 800,000. They're in there basically every time. Sometimes they dip below 800K. Sometimes they dip above or push above 1.1. Bottom line is they're pretty consistent. WWE is the ones fucking all over the charts here. You know, at least AEW is kind of consistent, and the one bad week they had was bad all across cable for whatever reason it was. So why are we jumping on that? Why are we running and lunging to our phone, trampling over anybody in our way to get to our phone to tweet your excitement about a low rating when there's another show the next goddamn week? They can easily bounce right back and do the rating that they're more accustomed to getting. So by the same logic that the people used a couple of weeks ago that the 780K was going to put them out of business and they're in a decline, well, what does it mean now? Now that they've bounced back above 1 million, does that mean they're putting WWE out of business tomorrow? Because by your logic, that's what was going to happen. That rating a couple of weeks ago meant that AEW was going to be out of business today. TNT was going to cancel them. So was TBS. So that means if they've now bounced and had this big of an increase, WWE is probably going to go out of business tomorrow and AEW is going to win the war. That's where the logic seems to lie with a lot of these fans. Just chill, man. You're going to have some good ratings. You're going to have some bad ratings. No reason to jizz on yourself over it, good or bad. Also, pleasant news on Dynamite as well. Orange Cassidy is finally using Jane from Jefferson Starship, which he did use on the Indies, which I didn't even know. We did hear some rumors of Orange Cassidy getting some new theme music, and when he came out, we were watching it together on Wednesday. We were talking, the crowd, I could not hear. I'm like, what's that song? I'm like, it's the Scorpions. It's like, what the fuck? I can picture it. I'm riding in my dad's Camaro, his black Camaro with the T-tops down, and we're listening to this song, in like 1984 or whatever the fuck, and I could not place it. And then you guys let me know it was Jane from Jefferson Starship. I'm like, that's right. That was before they kind of branched off and did We Built This City and everything. But I have that album. I have that album on cassette in my collection of cassettes right behind me. It's a big fucking thing. I got like 300 cassette tapes from the 80s and 90s. And I didn't know that he used that on the Independents. Had no idea. I've seen Orange Cassidy matches in clips, but I don't think I've ever seen an Orange Cassidy entrance before on the Indies. So a lot of people were really happy to hear that he was using this. Tony Khan apparently has been trying to get the rights to the song for quite some time, but wasn't ever able to hear back from, whoever owns the rights to the song or could license him the music. So Orange Cassidy's been using the Pixies theme or whatever, which I also think fits him very well, but him being able to use the theme that he used back in the day is great. AEW likes to do that. Nice seeing Claudio, with his Ring of Honor theme as well. And, I got to say, when it comes to theme music, WWE has always set the bar. WWE has always been the pinnacle of theme music. One of the things that got me really emotionally behind a lot of wrestlers back in the day was their theme song. I mean, it was the whole presentation, but back, when Jim Johnson was really heading things up and you had Undertaker and Razor Ramon and Diesel and Shawn and Brett and Goldust and super recognizable themes that you really associated with the wrestler. Then WWE went into that other era with the CFOs. They had some really good themes there, Shinsuke Nakamura and Bobby Roode and Kevin Owens and lots of others, that were actually really good. And still to this day, WWE's got some great theme songs that still really fit the performer well, but it's not like the way it was. WWE is just littered with either generic sounding themes or themes that have been watered down. They watered down Riddles a little bit. They've changed to Tommaso Ciampa. They've gotten rid of some of the old good themes, replaced them with shittier, generic-sounding ones. And I think for the first time in my lifetime, in my entire lifetime, I honestly can say this, I think WWE is number 2 in theme music. I think AEW, when you think about some of their stars that you really are starting, I associate their stars with specific music much in the same way I did with the WWE stars back in the day. Maybe not to the degree of the Attitude Era, because when that glass shattered, or if you smell, it's on. But in terms of AEW caring a little bit more about their theme song, WWE sometimes cares about wrestlers' theme songs when they really want to make it fit or something like that. But most of their, undercard talent, they just throw some shit out there. So with AEW, having certain songs, Jungle Boy song, Jungle Boys, CM Punk's, now Orange Cassidy. What other actual song have they paid and licensed to get besides those three? I know there's more, even MJF's, even though it was kind of a public domain song, his song, really fits. And everybody, Judas, need I say more, Moxley, Wild Thing, they're doing a good job with that. FTR's theme is fantastic. The Young Bucks theme is fantastic. There's a lot of talent there that I immediately... Britt Baker's is one of my absolute favorites, actually. So as you can see, I'm naming off people as I'm thinking of them. I'm like, this theme's good, this theme's good, this theme's good. And I'm not saying WWE doesn't have good themes anymore. They still have a few left that are very good. But in terms of the feeling you get that you used to get maybe in the 90s, in the late 80s, and even in the Attitude Era, that feeling you get when you hear a song and you know exactly who's coming out, you don't get that anymore in WWE, where I do feel like you're getting some of that in AEW, and they deserve credit for that, because when it came to companies competing with WWE, even when WCW was kicking their ass in ratings, I still thought WWE had way better theme music than WWE or than WCW. WCW had some decent knockoffs like Jericho's and Ravens and DDP's, which were knockoffs of Nirvana and Pearl Jam and shit. The NWO theme also didn't belong to them, but fit great. Of course, Voodoo Child with Hogan did not belong to them either, but it fit Hogan great. Other than that, they didn't have really great theme songs. I thought they had kind of cheesy sounding ones. And that was one reason why I couldn't get as invested in some of the characters in WCW, is because most of their theme songs were just kind of, they were second-rate sounding songs, like just B-sounding songs, not good, where WWE felt more professional, like it was, given the pro treatment, and WCW felt a little bit less like that. Of course, ECW was a mess with their theme songs. I never had any songs in TNA that I really stick out, at all. I know in WCW, Jeff Jarrett had the Kid Rock knockoff Slapnut song, probably had something similar in TNA, but you guys can help me out with TNA theme music. I know that AJ Styles was kind of decent, and maybe Samoa Joe and some other ones, but when it comes to theme music and it really being handled, treated well, and that's where we as fans can benefit by having a goofy wrestling nerd deciding he wants to start a wrestling company, because theme songs are going to be important to him. This is the stuff that was important to him when he was a fan. Am I the only one that sees that as a positive? Think about yourself. Think about if you were given $1 billion to start a wrestling company. Wouldn't you want your stars to have really recognizable theme music? And you want to take the time to make sure that character is presented well. You would think that's the way WWE should behave as well, but, when it comes to the theme songs, they don't seem like they're produced or made or attached to the wrestler with any sort of love or care anymore. And I'm getting a lot more of that in AEW than I am in WWE. Even though I still think Roman Reigns' theme is fantastic. I like Kevin Owens. I like Seth's. There's a lot of themes in WWE that are great. I think Bianca Belair's theme is the most perfect fitting theme for a star in all of WWE. That fits her. That's so perfect for the kids. It's catchy. You can bounce around to it. I ain't got no hair to twirl, but if I did, I'd be twirling it. So I'm not saying WWE has got all shit, but I like as a fan, I'm not saying they are the best. I'm saying my personal preference as a fan right now is AEW's theme music over WWE's. And you can tell me if you agree with that or not. And also, as we saw at Forbidden Door, we've got new IWGP Tag Team Champions in FTR. We've got IWGP against Ring of Honor and AAA. But right now, you got 3 sets of titles on FTR, 1 set of titles on Young Bucks, and there are some rumblings and rumors, and I gotta be I'm in perfect agreement with this, as my studio is disconnecting again. Please hold. Let me make sure we're back. Okay. We froze again, but I think we're back now. Anyway, I would be perfectly in favor of this idea of having FTR and the Young Bucks main event a pay-per-view, maybe All Out, because CM Punk is probably not going to be back yet. He might be, but if he's still out and Jon Moxley is your interim champion and it's not time to do the Moxley and Punk match yet, if you're ever going to find a time where you can probably get away with not having your world title be in the main event. You can probably do that with an interim champion and have Moxley doing something else on the undercard, and you can really focus and showcase tag team wrestling in your main event. I know WWE has done it in recent years, maybe with Usos and New Day. That Hell in the Cell match they had might have been the main event. You guys have to help me. But I think that would be incredible, and I'd be perfectly open to doing something different. Tag team championship match, 4 championships on the line at All Out. Winner take all. Winner is the holder of 4 sets of tag team titles, 8 belts. Hell, you could even fucking shoehorn the Impact ones in there if you wanted. If you can get an agreement done with Impact, like, hey, can we borrow your tag team titles? Can we have the Bucks beat Good Brothers or whoever the hell has the titles right now, so we can get those belts over here as well, and you can have some super crazy celebration at the end. But I kind of like that idea. I'd have no issue with the Bucks and FTR main eventing All Out. I still think it could be a great show. You could do all the crazy shit you want on the undercard and really showcase and focus on tag team wrestling. It would probably be the pinnacle of what, no pun intended, of what FTR was trying to accomplish as a tag team. They left WWE because they've got them in the showers shaving each other's backs. Here they're main eventing a pay-per-view against arguably, one of the best tag teams in the world for 4 championship tag team belts. I think that would be fun. So anyway, I think it all hinges, though, maybe on CM Punk. If CM Punk is healed, I don't think he's going to be. If he's healed and ready to go by September, whatever the hell it is, for All Out, then I would do the tag team match as the main event. If he's good to go, then obviously you're going to have to do Moxley and CM Punk. That's going to have to main event. Really not a way to get around that, but I think that should hinge on CM Punk's health. I would do the tag match as the main event if he's out, and then maybe not if he is healthy. So we will see what happens there. It's time to predict Money in the Bank now. We wanted to get through all that news first, just so this wasn't a 10-second long podcast, because I don't think it's going to take me long to predict these matches here, although we will discuss some possible scenarios with all this stuff. Yeah, Trey, thank you. I saw that I had froze again. Do me a favor, too, if you don't mind. Smash that thumbs up button for those who are in here. Oh, good point, Skull Vikings. Dom and Ray versus Judgment Day on Raw this week, and that is here in San Diego, which is the hometown of Dominic and Ray. It's where they live, and Dominic turning on Ray here in San Diego. Man, maybe I could make the trip last minute. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask Elizabeth if she wants to drive down to Raw. I don't think she does. But, yeah, I could see that. I would love for Mysterio, Dom and Ray to face each other. I thought they were going to have the match at WrestleMania. They've been really holding this off, and Dominic joining Judgment Day would be perfect for him. Just what he needs. Just what he needs. Somebody in one of the chat a few weeks back had suggested Dominic being sent to NXT, and you know how NXT is all like horny and everything, and like he can go down there and be surrounded by these very sexual women, and he can kind of be like a vacation in Amsterdam, a spring break type of situation for him. And then he can come back to the main roster all cocky, chewing gum, different hairstyle, shirt unbuttoned with a gold chain. And, because now he's gone down there and had his fun. And I don't know, it could be a fun character change for Dominic. But if they want to go dark with him and have him join Judgment Day, turn on Ray, that would make more sense, because Judgment Day, especially with that whole supernatural thing, there's been discussions of, they could, get to Dominic, manipulate him, mind control him into joining the group and turning on his dad, maybe doing it in a way where Dom really doesn't want to. He's being manipulated. That way you leave the door open for the father and son to reunite if Dominic is kind of doing these things against his will. So I could see that happening for sure. Danny says give Drew another title run. I'm cool with that. I like Drew. He might win it at Castlevania. We'll find out. Anyway, on to Money in the Bank. Like I said, SmackDown airs 1 hour, goes live 1 hour from now. They could add another match to Money in the Bank tomorrow. I kind of feel like they will. They'll just throw something at us. Gunther could have, Gunther squashed Ricochet in the rematch already, so maybe you don't run back Gunther and Ricochet again, although maybe you do. You could throw Gunther on the card if you wanted. Other than that, I don't know what they could, kind of shoehorn in here. And they still have to determine one final entrant in the Money in the Bank match for the men at some point tonight on SmackDown as well. So we'll see what they say. But here are the matches I have written down for the show as of right now. Usos versus the Street Profits for the Tag Team Championships. These teams faced a lot. They've faced each other a lot. I'm a little bit over it at this point. I would just keep rolling with the Usos. Roman's not even on this show unless he turns up on SmackDown next week to give them hell for dropping the tag team titles here. It seems like it would be a weird place to undo all of this, so I'm going to go with the Usos retaining. And like I said, I think Montez Ford is on the cusp of a singles push. And like I said, I think he should toss Dawkins through the barbershop window real soon. But then again, if he does that, Montez is going to be a heel. So I think Dawkins is going to be the one to throw him through the barbershop window because they probably want Montez as a babyface. He's fun. He's charismatic. He's super energetic. He's the ultimate warrior on crack, and he's got the look. He's got everything. He's got the athleticism. He's got Ultimate Warrior's intensity with LeBron James's athleticism. It's ridiculous, this guy, and I see him nothing but a babyface at first. I think he could be a great heel down the road, but let's enjoy him as a babyface, let him fly and do things. And I think when you split the Street Profits, it's going to have to be Dawkins turning on Montez is what they're going to have to do. So if the Street Profits fall short on Saturday, which I'm hoping they do, maybe that will begin the process of them splitting up, because if they're not going to win the titles here, why even keep them around as a team at this point? If they lose to the Usos again, there's really no reason for them to face them again, and there's also not 2 tag team championships anymore. Split them. So let's see if that starts tomorrow, or if they swerve us and put all the belts on the Street Profits for some reason, but I don't think so. I'm going to go with the Usos retaining. Here's a weird match. Austin Theory versus Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship. Now, Lashley already went through the gauntlet thing to get the opportunity for this match. Then this past week on Raw, he faced Gable and Otis in a tag team match with Theory as a referee on the outside and still overcame that and kicked the shit out of all 3 of them. I got to pick Theory. I got to pick Austin Theory to retain over Bobby Lashley. I am not convinced. You guys saw me on Monday night tweeting and some of the things I talked about on the Raw stream. I'm not convinced that John Cena is not wrestling at SummerSlam. He came in to do the 20th anniversary thing, told the crowd he doesn't know when he's coming back, dropped the hint and teased the thing with Theory backstage with the selfie that he walked away from. Kept trying to leave the arena, only to be bothered by a couple people on the way out the door. SummerSlam is just a few weeks away. How do you not have John Cena on this card, especially when you've already brought him back to TV? He's got the new T-shirt, the WrestleMania NES game. He's got the old hat. I used to have one, a Pistons hat of that version. I think his was like the Raiders' old logo, but back in the 90s, the kids would get the sports teams of the cursive writing on the hats there. I used to have a Pistons one. And so he's got the new gear, looks a lot different, dropped a lot of weight, losing his hair in the back, but somebody said he looked like Ernest from the Ernest movies. I fucking died. But how do you not bring him in for SummerSlam? So I think that Theory is going to find a way to escape this match with Lashley, considering Lashley has looked pretty strong, destroying everybody getting to this point. I think it's either Gable and Otis who come out and help Theory, or maybe even MVP and Omos. It depends on if the men's Money in the Bank has already happened yet or not. I don't think it really matters. I think the men's Money in the Bank is going to be the main event, but they could still come out and fuck it up. Gable and Otis could still fuck it up. Theory, I think, will escape somehow, and then my hope is that he's confronted perhaps right here in the whale's vagina, and I'm not going to be live to see it, by John Cena next week, or maybe he brags about his win over Lashley that he obviously gets help to accomplish, and he calls out John Cena or something like that. And I don't know why Lashley really needs to be the U.S. champion right now. I mean, he was the U.S. champion before. They booked him real strong, but I feel like the belt is actually better off on Theory for the moment, because Lashley, we already know, is a credible badass. And I think I'm back. Sorry about that. I have cut out again, but we are back. I apologize. I was just waiting for it. My little light went red, and then it went back to green. So we are back now. I think we're good. Sorry about that again. But in what I'm talking about with Lashley and Cena and Theory, you could do a lot here with Lashley and all three of them, but I really think they wouldn't have gone through the trouble of planting the seed of Theory and Cena on Raw if they weren't going to do it, unless they plan to do it way, way, way in the future or something. But I feel like something's got to happen, and I am still of the belief, maybe I'm just in denial, maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I'm still of the belief that Cena will be wrestling at SummerSlam, and it will likely be against Theory. And if it is, I feel like Theory's got to beat Lashley here. And then when you get to SummerSlam, you can even talk about Theory beating Cena. Now, obviously, Theory's going to need a lot of help to beat both of these guys. But if he wound up beating both, imagine the bragging he would do. I know the fans fucking hate Theory. If he beat both those guys in back-to-back pay-per-views, that would be crazy. But John Cena also lost at last year's SummerSlam. So I think if Theory and Cena happen this year at SummerSlam, Cena will win. He'll win the U.S. title and maybe just temporarily bring it back before maybe losing it back to Theory before he goes off and does his next movie. Or Cena's doing a movie right now and he ain't coming back at all. But I think for tomorrow, I need to bite the bullet and actually predict Theory to beat Lashley. As much as it hurts my balls to do that, I got to do it. So let's pick Theory to somehow retain his U.S. title with a lot of help. I might need the help of a damn army to do it, but I think he is somehow going to escape Bobby Lashley. Raw women's title. I almost said SmackDown. Raw women's title on the line. Bianca Belair defending her Raw women's title against Carmella. This one, can you be more obvious? I mean, Bianca Belair stands no chance against Carmella. I'm surprised they even do this. I think maybe even before the match, Bianca just forfeits and gives up. I mean, she doesn't want to submit herself to the ass-kicking that Carmella's going to lay on her. This thing is probably going to be a squash. I think Carmella, as soon as the bell rings, she's going to smack Bianca around a little bit, hit her with her finisher, and win the Raw Women's title. And Carmella will be your new champion tomorrow. Moving on, Ronda Rousey defending the SmackDown Women's title. I am totally kidding. Everything I just said there about Bianca and Carmella, flip it. Bianca's going to squash that girl. Ronda Rousey, speaking of squashes, Ronda Rousey defending the SmackDown Women's title against Natalya. Now, the two of these girls have had quite the beef on social media. There's been a lot of talk about Ronda and her demeanor, her attitude. It feels like they're leaning into this a little bit about her not giving a shit, because that's the way it's felt like with the fans. The fans could feel her energy, feel her body language almost right from the word go. She's also the worst promo to ever exist in wrestling. Ken Patera might be a tad better, but not by much. Or she might be a tad better than Ken Patera, but not by much. She's pretty bad. And it seems like WWE isn't like kind of shying away from this. And you would think that if this is the narrative that's going around that WWE doesn't like, they're going to want to talk to Ronda and say, hey, let's spice up your promos a little bit, and let's put a little pep in your step, take an energy shot or whatever. Just do something to get a little bit more enthusiasm and bass behind your voice instead of just going out there and talking like this. You know? So I feel like they kind of want the fans to have this opinion of her. And Natalya is really leaning in hard here. Of course, she dressed like Ronda Rousey last week. But at the end of the day, these two matches, I have no doubt of the outcomes. They don't even need to be on this pay-per-view. They need to be on Raw and SmackDown, which does make me wonder if WWE does want to throw a swerve at us in one of these matches. It does feel like they are set up for an opportunity for another one-night cash-in with the women, considering you have two of these matches, and at least one of them, I believe, will happen before the women's Money in the Bank match. Or I'm sorry, after the women's Money in the Bank match. Maybe not both, but they both won't happen before. But I think one will definitely happen after, and I think most likely both will happen after, because the women's Money in the Bank match, if there's only going to be 6 matches on this card, I think it should open. I think the men's and women's should bookend the show. Do the women first, men later, or men first, women later, whatever you want to do. Either way, at least doing one early gives the potential, the possibility, the teasing that we could see a one-night cash-in. At least that would keep the fans at home and in the arena on their toes. So I do feel like you could potentially do a cash-in here, but I feel like both of these matches are going to be pretty strong victories for the champions, and they're not going to be in a vulnerable position. I don't think Bianca and Ronda are going to be sitting there spent, unless they get attacked by somebody, unless Bianca's attacked by someone or Ronda's attacked by someone. And it depends on, like I said, who wins these championships. Now, as I'm going to talk about here as we get into the women's Money in the Bank match, which we're going to predict next, our participants for this are Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Lacey Evans, Asuka, and Shotzi. Now, of this list, I would love to see Shotzi get the briefcase, but they've done nothing with Shotzi. It would just be like, okay, you're the briefcase holder now, and there's been no build or anything with her. Lacey Evans, I do feel like could be somebody they're going to pit against Ronda Rousey when the time comes. It just feels like that. So she could win it here, but then again, she's probably going to get her championship shot somewhere down the road. Raquel Gonzalez, same thing. She could win the Money in the Bank as well, but she has no character that would be interesting or fun to see hold that briefcase. She does nothing. I liked her in NXT. She was big. She was bad. She was big, mammy cool. I liked the female Diesel type of gimmick because I like Diesel, but on SmackDown, she just smiles, and that's all she does. And I think if she had a briefcase, it wouldn't be fun. She wouldn't make it fun at all. She'd be like, hey, look, I'm Raquel. I have the briefcase. It's my neighbor's dog is barking a little too loud for me. But she'll, hey, I'm Raquel. I have the briefcase, and that's me. Nah. Liv Morgan, everybody would love to see Liv Morgan win the briefcase as well, but I don't think I feel it for her either. If she won the briefcase, it would be great. She'd probably celebrate and cry and stuff, but you still got to cash it in. I think I would much like to see Liv's story come full circle with her just getting a championship match and winning the title, not doing any sort of a cash-in. So I'm going to rule out Liv Morgan as well. Alexa Bliss, we've already seen her win the briefcase before, and she cashed it in on the same night, I believe, back in the day. I don't know how I feel about Alexa winning right now. She's back. She's just not doing much. She's not sparking that much of an interest. I'm glad that she's back and everything, but she's not standing out like she did when she was with The Fiend and stuff. And, of course, Asuka, who we would all love to see be champion again, but she won just a couple of years ago when they did it at the headquarters there, and she's had some pretty big wins on Raw lately over Becky Lynch. So I don't know about her. I think she got robbed a little bit of having a true run with the briefcase because Becky got pregnant and she, wasn't. And Asuka could be fun, unlike Raquel and some of these other baby faces who would be boring as shit with the briefcase. Asuka would not be. Asuka would be dancing. I'm gonna cash in, psych. She'd be hilarious. So I'd be fine with Asuka holding the briefcase too. But I think the story here should be Becky Lynch. I know the fans don't want to see that. Give it to somebody else. I know everybody's programmed to think that way. I'm not. Becky, I think, makes sense for the story. Becky's been undergoing this character transformation. She's kind of been in a trance. Most hilarious shit I ever saw was on Monday when John Cena's making his entrance and all the stars are smiling and they're clapping and they're hugging him, and she's just sitting there literally with a frown on her face, and she's just slowly golf clapping. She, like I said, did the reverse Paul London from 2007. And that's all been hilarious. Her outfits, as you can see on the screen here, are getting more and more outlandish. She looks like somebody threw RoboCop in a blender. And she seems obsessed with getting back to that championship. And and I'm not the one that came up with this idea. I've seen this floating around several different places around social media and stuff. But I like the idea. I like the idea of Becky winning the briefcase and let's say it like this. Let's say the Money in the Bank match opens the show for the women and Becky wins the briefcase. After Bianca Belair beats Carmella, I would have Becky come out. Becky comes out, music hits, fans think we're getting a one-night cash-in. Maybe even have Carmella give Bianca a little bit of a fight. Maybe Bianca's still laying down on the mat after she won. She's a little spent. And Becky comes out. All the fans think that we're getting a briefcase cash in. She gets in the ring, and she just gets on the mic and says, I'm not going to cash in on you now. I'm gonna beat you at SummerSlam. And instead of taking advantage like a heel, she actually calls her shot and says, I'm going to do this year at SummerSlam what I didn't do last year. Last year, you didn't know I was coming. And I came out and I caught you by surprise. This year, you're going to see me coming. I'm cashing in at SummerSlam against you, and now we've got our Becky and Bianca match. And then you do the match. You have Bianca beat Becky Lynch fair and square, right in the middle. After the match, Becky Lynch shakes Bianca's hand and is a babyface. I like it. I like it. It would be truly full circle because I was at SummerSlam last year when Becky returned. Fans went nuts. Sasha Banks remember, she was pushed out last minute, and then Becky, then it was Carmella, and then Becky came out and won the title, in a few seconds when Bianca wasn't ready. Then we see Bianca win the belt back. Becky goes nuts. She's undergoing this kind of crazy transformation, and now she wins the briefcase. She actually cashes it in like a babyface, loses, and then turns babyface after. I do like all of that. But Becky as a delusional, obsessed heel can be fun too. I'm kind of liking seeing her freak out all the time. I like seeing her lose her mind. She's funny. So I don't know what I'd prefer, but that whole scenario, when it was laid out, did sound pretty good. Like I wouldn't mind that at all if they did something like that. Now you could also do, you could even have like Carmella do something at the end of the match. Like if they wanted to this is all if they want to make Becky a babyface. Carmella could attack Bianca after Bianca beats her, attack her, maybe put her through a table, or do something to injure her in some way. And she's laying there, she's vulnerable, she's in big trouble. Then Becky Lynch's music hits. Everybody's like, oh, she's going to come out. And she walks up to Bianca Belair. And instead, she just reaches out her hand and lifts her up and says, I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to cash in at SummerSlam. They could do that. But this is all just speculation on Becky potentially being babyface. But in the end, I think I'm going to pick Becky Lynch. I know it's probably unpopular, but I think her winning the briefcase would create the most interest. There's the story there with Bianca Belair. I feel like WWE probably has other plans for Ronda Rousey. Charlotte has been missing. We know that. She went off. She got married. She's probably due to come back now as well. And we could see a Ronda and Charlotte rematch at SummerSlam. I would love to see Ronda drop the belt to somebody else so somebody could get that rub of beating Ronda Rousey. But this is WWE we're talking about, and they probably have other plans. So I feel like you could have Becky win because, Ronda might be busy with other stuff. Now, Becky could swerve us all and cash in on Ronda. Why not? You could do that if you wanted. But I feel like there's the story there with Bianca that they could just kind of finally wrap up and finish, and would also, give both ladies a full circle moment. Well, we'll see. I'm picking Becky Lynch in that. If I had a second pick, if it wasn't going to be Becky Lynch, I think of all of those women, God, really, to be honest, the only one I really, truly give a shit about is Asuka. I like Shotzi, but WWE's never going to do anything with her. Lacey, I don't care about at all. Raquel, I don't care about at all. And Alexa, whatever. And Liv, we all love. We love Liv. I see her every Christmas and Thanksgiving at the Morgan family reunions. But no, Becky's the one for me. Which leaves us now with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Riddle, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Omos, Sami Zayn, and one participant to be determined in just a little while here on SmackDown. So unless they do something crazy on SmackDown and they put John Cena in this thing, I think it's likely going to be somebody like Kevin Owens, or WWE might shoehorn or add last minute, 11th hour, another Owens and Ezekiel match at Money in the Bank if they want to do a one-on-one there. But I feel like if they were going to do that, they would have done that shit on Raw or added that match on Raw. So I feel like Owens is a pretty strong candidate to be a part of the Money in the Bank match. And it would be fun if he does qualify for this tonight and he enters the match, if he somehow gets distracted, because I don't think he's going to win the Money in the Bank. And one of the ways you could kind of have him away from the ladder during the finish is if you do some Ezekiel and Elias trick. If you put an Elias in the crowd or an Ezekiel in the crowd, or he thinks he sees Elias and then he sees Ezekiel and he's just all fucking confused and distracted, and then somebody else is able to grab the briefcase. I would like to see that. I would like to see Owens qualify and then an Elias-Ezekiel combo distract him during the Money in the Bank match and just basically neutralizes him. But with everybody else, like I said before, there are 3 big names here. All 3 I would be fine with winning. Riddle, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's kind of a wild card. Sami Zayn's on my radar because he just signed a new deal. They obviously are going to utilize him and push him to a relatively decent degree. He had the match with Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania. He's been involved with the Bloodline. He would be a hysterically entertaining briefcase holder. I would love it. Love it, love it, love it if it turned out to be Sami Zayn. Seth Rollins, I believe, should be the guy. Seth Rollins, I believe, should be rewarded this briefcase because he's held the briefcase before. I pitched the idea for SummerSlam, basically recreating, but in a way cooler way, what you did in 2015 when he cashed in on Brock and Roman at WrestleMania 31. You do it in the last man standing match. You do a big spot with Roman and Brock where they crash through the announce table off the top rope onto the floor or something like that, and they're both completely annihilated. Then Seth comes out, he cashes in his briefcase, making the last man standing a 3-way, and he just stands there and does nothing except laugh and dance as the referee counts both men out to 10, and Seth is your new champion without having to do anything. I would love that scenario. Riddle is another guy that I think would be a lot of fun to win the briefcase, especially if you could tie something with Randy Orton into this. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, tell me what you think about this scenario. Riddle wins the briefcase, okay? Tomorrow. Wins Money in the Bank. He's now got the briefcase. He shows up on Raw. Bro, I got the briefcase. I'm fucking stoked. I'm going to dedicate my pursuit of the WWE title to my good friend Randy. Randy, this isn't my briefcase. This is both of our briefcases. And he holds on to it for a few months. And you try to time Riddle's cash in with whenever you think Randy Orton might be healthy. Now, there's been talk of Randy Orton being possibly out for the end of the year. So let's say he is. And let's say Riddle holds onto the briefcase, he teases it, it becomes part of his gimmick, he hooks it to the handlebars of his scooter, and he's just got it with him all the time. He matches he could keep a new hat and flip-flops in the briefcase and everything. So Riddle holds the briefcase for a few months. We get to the Royal Rumble. I know a lot of people are expecting Cody Rhodes to return in the Royal Rumble. That probably will happen, but you're also going to have a WWE title match of some kind at the Royal Rumble. Who knows if we're going to have 2 belts by then or if it's still the unified deal. I kind of feel like we might need 2, but let's say there's a championship match at the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns or whoever the champion is against somebody. And after the match, after Roman retains or whoever the champion is retains, they don't even have to retain. Once the match is over, you have Riddle come out, finally, successfully cashing in the briefcase on whoever is laying there. He wins the title. He's jumping for joy, but it's still being perceived that Randy Orton is injured. He's not, he's still on the shelf. And so Riddle celebrates. He's so happy the pay-per-view goes off the air. The next night on Raw, Riddle opens the show as the new WWE champion. And he's like, last night at the Royal Rumble, I cashed this in. The only thing that would have made it greater is if my good friend Randy was there. And I just want to let you know, Randy, that I did this for you. I dedicate my victory and my run as WWE champion to you, and I vow to be as good a champion as you were. And I just want you to know I love you so much. Then Randy Orton's music hits. Riddle is overcome with joy. Randy coming out to surprise his friend. He didn't tell him he was coming. He wanted to be a part of the celebration. And we, no shit, have a Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero WrestleMania 20 caliber hug between the two. Literal tears coming down Riddle's face. He can't believe Randy Orton came here to surprise him. He loves him so much. The big hug. Randy Orton says, go salute the crowd. And Riddle climbs up to the ropes and salutes the crowd with the belt, jumps down, turns around, boom, RKO. Randy Orton, Riddle, title program. It could go into WrestleMania. You could do this at a different time of year or whatever, but that would be so fun because Riddle and Randy Orton really got over huge. They were like the most over act in the company. So I can understand WWE wanting the championship to be involved with those two whenever the inevitable feud happens. And Riddle can be, and that would be good character development for Riddle because he's overcome with joy. He's the new WWE champion. He just won the title. He's like a dream come true for him. But he's got to balance that joy with the heartbreak of being completely stabbed in the back by the person that you love more than anybody else. So now he's a champion, but he's not as fun-loving as he should be. You know, he's been hurt. And that could, you know, WWE doesn't do too much of this anymore, but that would really develop, I think, Riddle's character to where he's not just so one way. You know, because, you know, we've never really seen him truly angry. Even when he's angry, he's just like, whatever, bro. You know, just to see him truly heartbroken or where it can actually change him, you know, change him as a man. But he's got to go through all these changes, and he's on this path to self-discovery while being champion and trying to balance all of that. I think that'd be fucking fun, man. I'd be down with that. So at the end of the day, I need to pick a winner here. Riddle, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, and we should throw some love to Drew McIntyre. The only problem with that is that Drew has already called his shot for Castlevania in September when he faces Roman Reigns for the title. So I don't see the point of him winning here. They kind of did the thing with him and Sheamus. I feel like him and Sheamus will cancel each other out. I don't know how Omos is going to not just reach up there and grab the briefcase himself, but like I talked about earlier, in the Lashley and Theory match, if Omos and MVP make their presence known, because I believe it's either going to be Otis and Gable or MVP and Omos that comes out and fucks up that match for Bobby Lashley, allowing Theory to win the US or to retain the US title. If that happens, I say Lashley shows up here and costs or attacks Omos and just gets him out of the way. Maybe Omos is climbing the ladder. Lashley hits the ring, spears him off the ladder. The two brawl into the aisleway, allowing maybe Riddle or Seth to climb up and grab the briefcase. So at the end of the day, I got to predict somebody to win this thing. Seth Rollins is the one that my heart is screaming to pick. He's the one that I do feel like is the right call. I think that Seth would make the briefcase very fun. I also think that it would set up a really fun scenario for SummerSlam, and I love that idea that I pitched. But between the two scenarios I pitched, either Seth cashing in the last man standing match, making it a three-way, and standing there while the referee counts to 10 and winning the title. As much as I love that scenario, I might like the one I laid out with Riddle more, where he wins the briefcase, cashes in, and, you know, has some sort of celebratory moment that's ended in an instant with an RKO, with Randy Orton turning on him and, you know, allowing Riddle to really wrestle with some personal conflict of being a champion, but also being heartbroken and doing all that. I might like the Riddle story more. And Seth, I think, is very predictable. If you have Seth and Becky, who are both on the cover of this pay-per-view, both winning the briefcases, I feel like that's really predictable, and they telegraph that a lot. So just to change it up for fun, Riddle. I'm going to go Riddle. I don't know why. I'm just going to go Riddle. I'm not confident in that. I feel like Seth is the favorite, but I'm not going to pick the favorite. I'm going to pick somebody other than the favorite. It's easy to pick the favorite. Anybody can do that. Let's pick somebody else. So I'm going to go with Riddle to win the Money in the Bank. Like I said, this will likely main event. It would be nice for Randy Orton to come out and celebrate with Riddle if he does win here, but I think Orton is still a little bit injured. But, you know, if you really spread that out and let Riddle carry the briefcase for a while and you hold off and try to time it with a Randy Orton return, I think that could be great. But WWE will probably mess it up. So anyway, just to recap, Usos to retain over the Street Profits. Theory to somehow, with a lot of help, to retain over Bobby Lashley. Bianca Belair to retain over Carmella. Ronda to retain over Natalya. We've got, who did I pick? Becky Lynch to win the women's Money in the Bank. And Riddle to win the men's Money in the Bank. There you go. Perfect timing here because I have got to get out of here. But we will be back here tomorrow night for full Money in the Bank 2022 review. So join us after the show. The link is already up on the channel right now. I want to go over to the chat here because I know I've got a couple super chats to answer before we bounce. One of them is from Zane G. Appreciate that $10 from earlier, dude. Thank you so much. What about during the women's briefcase match? How doing an injury angle only for Bayley to take that spot and win? I forgot about Bayley. You could do that. Bayley, I think, is ready to come back pretty soon now, so you could have her attack somebody and get in this match last minute. Sure. I also think it would be fine for Bayley just a regular comeback. But what a way to bring her back, Bayley, with all of her craziness, to be the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. I'd be cool with that. I really would. And if you did that, it's not like you still can't do the Becky and Bianca match. You could still find a way to do that. Some contenders bullshit on Raw, some 6-way gauntlet thing or whatever to determine your next contender, and Becky just wins that. So even with the Money in the Bank stuff, you can still get an opportunity literally, 2 nights later on Raw if you just do some sort of match to determine the next challenger, because that's how they do things. But Bayley coming in and surprising us, hell yeah. Trying to think how they would do it. Who's in this match here? Who would she replace? Maybe Liv Morgan or something? Trying to think who's feuding with who here. Whoever one of these women are feuding with knocks them out. Bayley could take their place. I'd be into that, Zane. Totally. Not sure if it's going to happen, but I ain't got no issue with that scenario whatsoever. Anywho, well, I got to get out of here. I got to head to work now because it's 4th of July weekend, and you know how fun that is. So you guys take care. I will see you back here tomorrow night. Make sure you shoot me a follow over on Twitter as well, because I will be live tweeting throughout Money in the Bank tomorrow, and then we will be up here for a full show review as soon as it goes off the air. So you guys take care. Enjoy your Friday evening, and I'll catch you tomorrow night for Money in the Bank.